What if I told you that the devils are behind our unselfishness? It's true, actually. In fact, a little selfishness is probably better for us than the kind of unselfishness that the demonic forces use in our intimate relationships. This is the subject of Screwtape's 26th letter.
Yes, courtship is the time for sowing those seeds which will grow up 10 years later into domestic hatred. The enchantment of unsatisfied desire produces results which the humans can be made to mistake for the results of charity. Avail yourself of the ambiguity in the word love. Let them think that they have solved by love problems they have in fact only waived or postponed under the influence of the enchantment. While it lasts, you have your chance to foment the problems in secret and render them chronic.
You know how, when you are newly infatuated with someone, there's this powerful attraction? It's largely sexual attraction. And because you are not yet married, it's unsatisfied desire. And because of this desire, we see everything, particularly anything having to do with that person, through rose-colored glasses. And the thing is, we don't think of it as sexual. We think of it as charity. Screwtape uses the word charity quite a bit. Charity in this context means unconditional or selfless love.
The grand problem of that unselfishness, note once again the admirable work of our philological arm in substituting the negative unselfishness for the enemy's positive charity. Thanks to this, you can, from the very outset, teach a man to surrender benefits not that others may be happy in having them, but that he may be unselfish in foregoing them. That is a great point gained.
I love this. Remember how I felt it necessary to explain what charity meant? I did that because a lot of people don't know what it means. We think of it as something to do with donations. We don't need the word charity anymore because we have unselfishness. The devils are behind this term. Unselfishness is self-centered. By using unselfishness instead of charity, I make it all about what I give up, instead of being about what others receive. The power of language. But this is not the only advantage of the word unselfishness, according to Screwtape.
Another great help where the parties concerned are male and female is the divergence of view about unselfishness which we have built up between the sexes. A woman means by unselfishness chiefly taking trouble for others. A man means not giving trouble to others. As a result, a woman who is quite far gone in the enemy's service will make a nuisance of herself on a larger scale than any man except those whom our Father has dominated completely. And conversely, a man will live long in the enemy's camp before he undertakes as much spontaneous work to please others as a quite ordinary woman may do every day. Thus, while the woman thinks of doing good offices and the man of respecting other people's rights, each sex, without any obvious unreason, can and does regard the other as radically selfish.
Back in the 1940s, gender roles were fairly distinct. But from what I see on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, it seems to me that men and women are still very different. But Screwtape isn't done with this topic.
On the top of these confusions, you can introduce a few more. The erotic enchantment produces a mutual complacence in which each is really pleased to give in to the wishes of the other. They also know that the enemy demands of them a degree of charity which, if attained, would result in similar actions. You must make them establish as a law for their whole married life that degree of mutual self-sacrifice which is at present sprouting naturally out of the enchantment, but which when the enchantment dies away, they will not have charity enough to enable them to perform. They will not see the trap, since they are under the double blindness of mistaking sexual excitement for charity and of thinking that the excitement will last.
We need to understand what the devils are doing to us by way of expectations in marriage. We need to understand that the erotic enchantment, after a few years of marriage, will necessarily drop down a few notches. And as the fires of enchantment burn lower, what we thought was charity isn't as spontaneous or as easy. This is not really a problem. In fact, it's quite natural. Unless you thought all that sexually charged generosity actually was charity, and that it was going to last forever.
When once a sort of official, legal, or nominal unselfishness has been established as a rule for the keeping of which their emotional resources have died away, and their spiritual resources have not yet grown, the most delightful results follow.
So the good news is that the emotional fuel for charity will burn up, but it is gradually replaced by a growing spiritual fuel, resulting in a deeper and mature charity. The tricky bit for us, and the opportunity for the devils, is that space in between, after the emotional resources are gone and the spiritual ones have not yet developed significantly. In these cases, the devils delight in using our unselfishness against us.
In discussing any joint action, it becomes obligatory that A should argue in favor of B's supposed wishes and against his own, while B does the opposite. It is often impossible to find out either party's real wishes. With luck, they end by doing something that neither wants, while each feels a glow of self-righteousness and harbors a secret claim to preferential treatment for the unselfishness shown, and a secret grudge against the other for the ease with which the sacrifice has been accepted.
How many movie or sitcom plots have you seen about this situation, where both sacrifice for the other, neither getting what they want, but feeling superior because of their magnanimity, and also a little angry that they didn't get their way? It's funny when characters are doing it on screen, but not so much if this pattern is part of your relationship. Screwtape gives another strategy for using our habit of unselfishness against us in larger groups of people.
Later on, you can venture on what may be called the generous conflict illusion. This game is best played with more than 2 players. In a family with grown-up children, for example, something quite trivial, like having tea in the garden, is proposed. One member takes care to make it quite clear, though not in so many words, that he would rather not, but is, of course, prepared to do so out of unselfishness. The others instantly withdraw their proposal, ostensibly through their unselfishness, but really because they don't want to be used as a sort of lay figure on which the first speaker practices petty altruisms. But he is not going to be done out of his debauch of unselfishness either. He insists on doing what the others want. They insist on doing what he wants. Passions are roused. Soon someone is saying, "Very well then, I won't have any tea at all." And a real quarrel ensues with bitter resentment on both sides.
That is totally a thing, isn't it? Both sides are really trying to get what they want, but because they are arguing the opposite position, they are convinced that they are being unselfish, even though they are filled with bitter feelings, not just because of this particular disagreement, but of all the similar ones that have recurred over the last 10 years. They see very clearly what those people on the other side are doing, but they are completely blind to the fact that they are doing exactly the same thing, and feel quite blameless. All this is done in the name of unselfishness. Would this kind of thing be possible if we were dealing with others out of charity?
A sensible human once said, if people knew how much ill-feeling unselfishness occasions, it would not be so often recommended from the pulpit. And again, she's the sort of woman who lives for others. You can always tell the others by their hunted expression. All this can be begun even in the period of courtship. A little real selfishness on your patient's part is often of less value in the long run for securing his soul than the first beginnings of that elaborate and self-conscious unselfishness which may one day blossom into the sort of thing I have described.
It's possible that Lewis is the sensible human that Screwtape quotes in the beginning of that last passage. Notice that Screwtape suggests that a little actual selfishness might be better for us in the long run than the unselfishness he has been describing with such glee.
Some degree of mutual falseness, some surprise that the girl does not always notice just how unselfish he is being, can be smuggled in already. Cherish these things and, above all, don't let the young fools notice them. If they notice them, they will be on the road to discovering that love is not enough, that charity is needed and not yet achieved, and that no external law can supply its place. I wish Slumtrippet could do something about undermining that young woman's sense of the ridiculous.
If you are just at the beginning of a relationship, or many decades in, what we need to remember is that being unselfish is bad, love isn't enough, and charity is essential. In letter 27, Screwtape advises Wormwood to use the patient's prayers as a means to foster selfishness and distraction. He encourages him to focus on his own feelings rather than genuinely seeking God's will. Thank you, and we'll see you there.